I've not seen such bravery.
Oh my god. Is that the sound it's supposed to make? Hello everybody and welcome. Today we are celebrating the new year, or since the party supply store I went to somehow didn't have any New Year's decorations, 2017's birthday? It doesn't quite add up, but allow me to distract you from that with this stylish looking party hat. This may be hard to believe given how high-tech and topical my video topics tend to be, but I don't always find myself playing current games. I tend to enjoy replaying my favorite games, or I kick on RuneScape. Lately I've been playing hidden object games. But in comes 2016 and all of a sudden, there's games I want to play. I don't know if it's because I was paying more attention to current games this year, or if 2016 was just a year in which my particular gaming fancies were being tickled. But whatever the reason, I played enough games this year to justify sharing my favorites, my top 4 favorites specifically. But of course, I didn't play all of the games this year, so this list might be missing your favorite. Don't hate me for that. But let's waste no more time and get started with my first game of the Number 4, Civilization 6. Civilization is not the kind of game that I ever thought I'd get into. Aside from playing Age of Empires 2 at LAN parties, I've never been a strategy game kind of guy, especially not turn-based games. Boring. After going through a board game phase with some friends though, I found myself wanting a way to get my board game fix in a way that caters to my antisocial behavior. Enter Civilization 5. I put like 50-something hours into that game, which I know isn't a lot compared to other people's Civilization time, but that's a lot of time for me, okay? It's one of those games that can steal hours of time away from you, even though it feels like it's only been a few minutes. Civilization 6 has taken 30 hours of my time so far. I haven't played in a little while just because of getting busy with the holidays, but I know the second I touch it again, I'm gonna get sucked right back in. It's a turn-based strategy game, and you play as a civilization of your choice, found your first city, and then try and grow your civilization and meet one of a handful of victory conditions. You have to found new cities and spread out, manage citizens, food, and fight off barbarians. You also have to deal with neighboring civilizations who you can ally with or go against, getting into wars, creating competing religions, opening trade routes. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, which ensures that no matter how many rounds you play, no two games are going to be the same. For anyone out there that's not really into strategy games, but you're thinking, maybe I want to try out Civilization, but it kind of looks confusing, consider giving it a shot. I'm no strategy mastermind myself, and outside of deciding which type of victory I'd like to try for when I start a new civilization, I don't really plan that far ahead. You don't have to play super hardcore and follow some strict strategy with this game. You can just kind of roll with the punches and make decisions on the fly, and that's how I like to play. Unfortunately, my favorite way to get a victory, the culture victory, which basically means just having the coolest, most influential country in regards to music, the arts, etc., doesn't seem quite as fun as it did in Civ 5, but Civ 5 did have a ton of DLC when I played it, so I'll give Civ 6 some time. It's still an amazing game, and I look forward to losing countless hours to it in 2017. Well, Civilization 6 was my 4th favorite game of 2016. Now, let's check out number 3.
Most are gone. There's just a few left here now. We're locking down as much as possible here.
Number 3, Abduction. This one's gonna be a surprise to pretty much nobody, but I loved Abduction. It entered the year as my most anticipated game of 2016, a distinction it also had in 2015 actually, and it did not disappoint. Abduction is an adventure puzzle game made by Cyan, the same people who created my favorite game series, the Myst games. Abduction is a spiritual successor to the Myst series and aims to do exactly what those games did, place you in an incredible world with incredible puzzles and then let you figure it out from there. You find yourself transported to a different world via a floating, glowy space seed. The world you're sent to is basically an old west town that appears to be in some alien bubble. There's one person you're able to talk to, and guess what? Guess what? FMV, baby. Just like the good old days of Myst, real actors show up to talk to you, though your actual interactions with them are very few and far between. Most of your time is spent solving environmental puzzles and trying to figure out just where the hell you are and what's even going on. I really enjoyed discovering these worlds and learning about them, and most of the puzzle solving is fantastic and really kept me thinking. But I gotta say, there were a couple things that kept this game from scoring as high as it could have with me. Just like in the Myst series, you're required to learn a foreign numeral system. You draw symbols on a grid to form numbers, and while I felt like I was getting the hang of it at first, I really had no idea what I was doing. I never figured it out. I'm glad they included this translating machine so you can get the answers you need by just punching in a number, but I wish I'd been able to figure it out on my own. That's what I really enjoy about these kinds of games. I don't know, maybe it was just too hard for me. I mean, I know there were people out there that figured it out, and maybe I'm just dumb. Couple that with a spoilery story thing I'm not gonna spoil, it's just, I was a little unsatisfied with the story in one specific part of the game, but Abduction doesn't quite manage to top the Myst series for me. It is a great game though. I got very invested in it, and there are some seriously mind-bending story elements that impressed me and also kept me thinking. I really enjoy this form of storytelling and the style of puzzles, and nobody quite produces these games like Cyan does. If you're an adventure puzzle game person, give Abduction a look. Especially if you're a Myst fan. If you're a Myst fan that somehow has not played this yet, it has the Ian seal of approval, so go for it. Well, that was an interesting game. Let's move on to number 2. Now. I don't know what I paused for. Bum 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 bum. I love Uncharted. I love it. To celebrate the release of Uncharted 4, I streamed through the first 3 games over on Twitch. I just sat down and played them from start to finish in a series of 3 streams. Then I tried to play 4 in a single stream, but it was much longer than I expected it to be. Uncharted 2 seems to be the fan favorite as far as Uncharted's go, but I always thought that each Uncharted game topped the one before it, and after streaming through them all at once, I confirmed that feeling for myself. It was a close race between 2 and 3, but I made up my mind that I enjoyed 3 more, terrible boat section aside. Uncharted 4 is now my favorite Uncharted game. What a conclusion to the series. What a beautiful, exciting, engaging game. Pretty much everything about Uncharted 4 impressed me. The visuals, the sound, the storytelling, the characters, the gameplay, though maybe the increased emphasis on stealth might not have been my favorite thing. That was pretty optional though. You can just rush in and shoot people if you feel like it. It was just harder for me to stay alive when I did that. I really enjoyed the grapple mechanic. It was so much fun swooping around. Swooping is definitely a very Nathan Drake thing to do. Not sure about sliding around on the ground. I don't know that I felt particularly badass as I slid around in the dirt, but hey, it was still fun. What really won me over though was the villain. Rafe was a great character in my opinion. I just loved to hate him. And the ending boss fight was just so badass. If you've never played Uncharted before, now is the perfect time. The Nathan Drake collection was fantastic. I especially enjoyed the improvements to the first game. And if you play them for the first time now, you don't have to wait for Uncharted 4 to come out like I did. If you're a fan of adventure, if playing through an action-adventure movie sounds fun to you, it's hard to go wrong with Uncharted, and Uncharted 4 is a fitting end to the story. And I think, for the characters I'd fallen in love with over the years, it was a game that they deserved. Thanks so much, Naughty Dog. This was an amazing ride. Some games, for some reason or another, didn't make this list. I've got a few games here that I enjoyed, but that didn't quite qualify for my Games of the Year list, so let's do some honorable mentions real quick. I'm not quite as into virtual trucking as I used to be, but American Truck Simulator ended up being a great experience. If driving around America's southwest region sounds relaxing and fun to you, then this is your game. If the location is of no consequence to you though, Euro Truck Simulator 2 offers pretty much the exact same experience with years of DLC behind it, so it's kind of hard to recommend. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun, but American Truck Simulator launched with only like 2 types of trucks to choose from. I'm pretty sure they've added more since then, but come on, what was up with that? Move over, Roller Coaster Tycoon. Planet Coaster is the modern theme park simulator to beat. Build custom rides, design shops and stalls, and decorate to your heart's content. The sandbox mode of Planet Coaster has already stolen away a significant amount of my time, but I've yet to really dive into any of the other modes, so I can't exactly comment on the full game just yet. But even though I haven't seen all there is to see of this game, I can confidently say that if you're wanting to build some virtual roller coasters, you should be checking out Planet Coaster. People have built some really rad rides, and with Steam Workshop support, there's only going to be more content made available to you to incorporate into your personal Six Flags. This isn't a game, really, it's just an update, but the Animal Crossing New Leaf Amiibo update deserves some recognition. My love for Nintendo has faded in recent years, but this update cut right through all that and got me excited to play a great game that I hadn't picked up in a while. There are so many new items to get now, the design tools from Happy Home Designer are a godsend, being able to sell your town is a fantastic idea, and it even inspired me to pick up a few Amiibo, something I'd been borderline protesting doing. It's good, real good. I can't include this one on my list because it's a 2014 remaster of games originally released in the early 2000s, but I finally finished the Ace Attorney trilogy this year and I have to mention it. This is the first visual novel series I've even remotely been interested in, and wow, it was a lot of fun. If you're interested in crime solving, courtroom drama, and great storytelling, I highly recommend this series. Give it a shot even if you're not that into visual novels or have never tried them before. I hadn't either, but man oh man did Ace Attorney make me a believer of the genre. Alright, no more messing around. It's time to figure out what my favorite game of 2016 was. Let's get started. Number 1. The Witness is not a game for everyone. It's the hardest game in this list for me to actually recommend to someone, but hands down, this was my favorite game this year. I'm gonna try and tell you why, but just trying to talk about this game is kinda difficult, especially if I don't want to spoil much. The Witness is an adventure puzzle game, emphasis on puzzles. Puzzle, really. The puzzles in The Witness are all similar. They involve starting from a circle and drawing a line across a panel in a specific way. Symbols show up on the panels to help you along. You learn what these symbols mean as you go. No text instructions, you're just introduced to these concepts in a series of connected puzzles. The rules begin adding on top of each other until you're left with just a crap ton of symbols on a grid, and it's so confusing you've been staring at it all day. But at the end of it all, when the solution is found, all you've really done is draw a line across a panel in a specific way. Some people might not see The Witness as anything past that, a series of puzzles strung together for no real reason. Those same kind of people might call me pretentious for picking this game as my number 1 game, and that's fine, I can't really stop you, and also I don't really care. Before playing this game, I originally wanted to compare it to Myst in my mind, but there are some huge differences between these two games. Aside from the difference in puzzle styles, The Witness forgoes a clear narrative, instead opting for minimal direct storytelling. Where Myst had a giant story with a bunch of lore that you discovered and learned about as you play, The Witness has kind of a minimal story. I won't go into it much, but the story isn't really the main focus of the game, at least I didn't think so. Instead, the puzzles, the story elements, the island's design, pretty much everything communicates in vague themes and ideas and allows you to interpret that however you'd like. I've watched quite a few videos on this game since beating it, and there are just so many different viewpoints and opinions about the story alone, not to mention the rest of the game. Some people don't even think that the puzzles on the panels, which I consider to be the main part of the game, is the actual main part of the game. There are some really great theories about The Witness out there, and I love hearing them even if I don't agree. They're fascinating. If exploring an abandoned island with vague information about what anything means, a looming sense of mystery, allowing plenty of time for quiet thought and introspection, all while you solve a series of puzzles that build off each other, get frustratingly complex, to the point where many people have said they just felt like the game is taunting them. If that all sounds good to you, well, you've found your next game. It really is impressive how just one puzzle mechanic is pushed further and further, and it's all tied together with a beautiful island that holds many secrets and puzzles of its own. I loved the quiet solitude on that island. I loved the game wasn't afraid to put incredibly hard challenges in front of me without some type of skipping or hint mechanic. And I loved that I left the island feeling like I'd overcome a challenge in the sense of the puzzles, and that I gained something by doing my best to interpret the themes and ideas that the game presented to me. Making this video gave me the opportunity to play a bit more of it to capture some footage, and I'm already ready to dive right back in and play it from the start. It's a game that inspires me. It was just an amazing experience, and the fact that it's kind of hard to explain why my playthrough meant as much to me as it did makes me more excited about it. I still don't really understand everything about The Witness, and I don't think anyone but Jonathan Blow does. It's a game that just feels like it was made for me. It just checks all my boxes. Games like that don't come around every day, or every year even, but I hope you all have found games this year that feel like they were made just for you. So those were my favorite games of 2016. I didn't get a chance to play everything that came out this year, so if you have your own list of favorite games, be sure to share them in the comments. I want to know what games that I missed that are worth picking up. Thank you so much for watching this video and for supporting another year of my videos. I'll see you guys next year. So uncomfortable. Ah. Ah.